My name is Gary Souza. I'm with Lokeready, here to interview two former Ms. alumni, Tianle and Yi Chen. I'll be conducting this interview with Yahweh, so I hope you'll look forward to it. So to start us off, maybe Tianle and Yi Chen could give us some self-introductions, please.
Yeah, sure. So to kick off, I'll do a brief introduction. My name is Yu Tianle, and I graduated from MIS this year, actually, in May, and I landed on my current position in Garena. So I'm a configuration PIC, which means person in charge for Free Fire big event. And what I do for every day is like I made tables and communicate with locals to get all the configuration done for those big events. Yeah, and Yichen is my colleague. Hi, Yichen.
Hi guys. My name is Yichen Ma, and I'm also the graduate this year. And currently, I'm working at Garena Free Fire as a localization project manager. I think our game has 18 in-game languages and support more than 24 languages for all other game-related content such as survey and some marketing posts. So today I will be so delighted to be here to share something with you.
All right, great. Thank you for your introductions. So to start us off, I just wanted to ask about what your typical workload is like. I heard you mention that you work in a lot of different languages with the games, and so we were wondering what your workload looks like, how many hours you work per week.
Yeah, so typically as a project manager, I'm working like 8 to 9 hours a day and 5 days a week. So I think it is quite a normal workload. Yeah. So what about Tianle?
Yeah, the same here. But sometimes if like we have some in-game accidents, if there's any like accidents on live, then we have to fix it. Like no matter it's a weekend or it's like midnight, if there's anything wrong with game on live, then everybody has to wake up and fix bugs. So yeah, I think it's really hard to calculate how many hours exactly, but like this, I guess this is what operation like this job does. We have to ensure everything goes smoothly, and if everything goes well, then probably you work less than 8 hours a day. But if something goes wrong, then you have to stay up late, and yeah.
Yeah, sometimes as a project manager, we should communicate with someone from Brazil, which we suffer a great time difference. So sometimes I can simulator will work until 2 a.m. So which is, but only very few occasions, not a normal work time. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like if you have a meeting with some locals in South America, then you have to like maybe stay up till 11 p.m. Yeah, and that's a lot of like you have to adjust your your time schedule.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking time to attend our interview, although you have a lot of work to do. So my next question is, what's Garena's approach with localization? So do you manage quality, and are there any processes or metrics, or are there any tools you use to communicate with each other? And you don't have to go into the details if it's like violates the privacy, but you can give us a general picture. That would be great.
Yes, Garena is Garena is weighing a lot of importance into the quality of their localization or the translation. That means when you search localization of Free Fire in Google, all websites will say that Garena has done a really good job because we are running a hybrid mode, like we both have in-house linguists and external vendors, because we believe that in-house linguists will help us control the quality, because we are really hiring those people who have a great language abilities. I should say that things in game community really changes fast, and every day there are new tools coming in. Well, if the tool is good for you to optimize your workflow and is good for you to control the quality, and your company will be willing to use it. So there are many tools in our company. Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
And I like to add on that I think currently Garena's localization team for Free Fire, this game, is not very big. Like maybe there are just like less than 5 people in the localization team in Garena. And but like for my job as a configuration PIC, I have to communicate with local. So I also did parts of the localization work, but it's not like I need to localize all the text streams, or yeah, I'm just in charge of the settings, like of any game in-game settings. Like the whole localization work is quite scattered in different teams. Like some of them are in the product team, some of them in campaign team. Yeah.
And maybe one thing I think is also important is that we hear a lot of suggestions and feedbacks from our locals, which means different languages. We want to know what their thoughts towards our workflow or the current product. So that's also a way for us to continuously improve our quality. Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, talking about this, I have something that jumps up in my mind, because our linguists, like the locals, most of them are native. This is what I found in the localization industry, because now game companies are more inclined to hire native speakers. Yeah, so maybe that should be a part of the job hunting part. But yeah, just a little add on.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask a follow-up question to Tianle. You mentioned that the localization team is pretty small and scattered at your company. Have you ever had any times where you had to others who are not familiar with localization? And if so, have you had to sort of educate them on that? What was their reaction to that? Were they receptive? If you could like talk about that a little, that would be really interesting.
Actually, because I'm not a localization project manager, I'm just some of my work like consists of localization. So I'll give a story about how I interact with the developers side, because I'm in operation side. So I'm like a bridge between developers and our local teams. For example, in every game, there will be a splash banner that introduces the key features of this season's big event. So for the splash banner, we need to have a title of the banner, and that title are normally CDN, which is a picture. And that should support localization, because in different countries, like if they have different languages, they need to localize the title, right? But our developers decided to put that title, like immerse the title into the background, because the title has some special effects, and they felt like it's better for locals to just localize the whole background together with the title. But in this way, the title, like each region can only support one language. But as we know, for ME, like Middle East, they need at least 3 languages, like Arabic, French, and English. So which means they can only choose one language for their splash banner. This bug actually came rather late, because it's almost we only found this bug when we were doing QA, and I have to argue with the developers, like like I'm saying, some regions, especially American regions, they need at least 2 languages, both Spanish and English. And for EU, they absolutely have to have Turkish and English, because like 1/3 of their population doesn't speak English. They have to have the Turkish. So that's when I have to go to developers and tell them how important localization is for these regions, and we have to find a way to support their languages. And yeah, so I guess later they just separate the title from the background, as we normally did, and try to, if the title and background are separated, then we can have different languages per region. So this is just how if any problems related to localization come up, I have to go to developers and tell them why localization is so important. If our players can see the language they use, like how it will affect our player experience, and just try to convince them that this is really important and we have to fix any bug related to this.
Thank you very much. Now we have a better understanding of your work situation. Now I want to learn more about like job hunting. And I believe that's what most students care about when we're in school. So I wonder, are there any qualities that you think the game company is looking for when they recruit new grads like you guys? Like, how did you beat the other like components, and how many games do you have to play before applying? Because I don't play much games, so I'm wondering if that could be disadvantageous.
First of all, I think playing a lot of games is not a must. But what matters most is that you love playing games. You do not hate playing games. Yeah, because I feel that some people around me, they are all playing all kind of games, like Animal Crossing or even some very casual games. They are playing games. But yeah. And the second thing is that I think people must be open-minded because game industry is quite new, and what just as I mentioned before, things in game industry really change fast, and there are new tools coming to your company. Developers are creating new games. There are new people crowding in every day, so you have to be adapting to the new changes, and you have to be willing to accept the new changes, and most of all, to research thoughts and your ideas to others. Other things like, well, if you want to be a localization project manager in game, you have to focus on the details, because if you delay your job late, which means that you will affect a lot of other people's. The players cannot see your contents on time. The developers will wait for your response. So you have to be really focused on the details and know how to communicate if you really want something to be achieved, or if you really have to handle some important issues. Yeah. And what about Tianle? Do you have any other insights?
I totally agree with what Yichen said. And I think the most important quality of a gaming company, or I should say any internet company, is adaptivity. I think because the internet world is changing so fast, and you have to constantly learning and adapt it to your working environment, any changes in your work environment. I think if you haven't played a lot of games, it doesn't really matter like finding a job in a game company, because they have so many different roles. But you have to like have a clear picture of what you're good at and what you like to do. I think if, for example, you have some internships related to customer relations, then probably you can land a job. You can transfer your skills like dealing with customers to the operation job. I think PM, like project managers or operation, did a lot of they do a lot of communication work. So if you have good communication skills and you can convince the HR or the interviewer that you're capable of taking this job, that'd be great. But of course, at least you have to play 1 or 2 games that you are really passionate about. And if you're not a hardcore gamer, and at least you should know what like the job you're applying for, what game this company like are most proud of, or they're the most popular games in this company, and what's the most popular game right now. You can search on maybe Sensor Tower, or just do your homework. Like you did research and you see what's the most popular games right now, and what's the and you'll know you'll know what to talk about if the interviewer asks you to share your insights about any game. Even in a game company, like different roles. For example, some art, we have art designers, sound designers, like PM, operation programmers, game designers, like so many roles. Not everyone is interested in the same kind of game, and not everyone is really hardcore gamer. So don't be so incompetent. just show yourself, like display your strengths. And yeah, I think different company really are quite different when they consider people. Like not every game company need hardcore gamers to be their candidates. So there's still a lot of opportunities. Yeah.
Thank you for that. So you mentioned that there are a lot of opportunities. My next question is sort of regarding that. What would you say that your career prospects are in the industry? Would you say that there's potential for a lot of mobility up or even across the different types of jobs in the industry?
I think the top of our industry is producer. It's like producer is like the ultimate boss that leads the whole game. And to be a producer, I think you need to know something about game design. It's very important. Many producers just grow from game designers, and also you can be a operation, like game operation role. it also may lead to the producer. But I think people, different people have different talents, and they enjoy. I think the most important thing is doing what you really enjoy to do. So if someone like take me for example, I like writing, I like creative, like those designing work. So I probably would try more about the marketing side, and also game design is quite fun. But maybe some people like more of the technical side, then they can also they can try game designers, or turn to programmers. But I think that would be a little hard, and they can learn some art designing skills, and maybe or like user acquisition. There are so many different directions in this industry, and you can just if you can talk to people like in your company and know what they're doing. If you feel like you really want to try this, you can talk to your manager, and there's opportunity for you to switch your role. Yeah, I think what I felt is if the company really pay attention to really did good human resources, then they will give you the flexibility to land on different roles, like to try what you really are passionate about. So yes, I think there are lots of um, possibilities. Yeah, you don't have to always be a game operation. If you start with this, you can switch to marketing, you can switch to campaign, you can grow to be a game designer or do user acquisition, anything. Yeah.
Yes, and I think in our company, and I think many other game companies are just the same. We have many courses that you can attend if you're interested in. But last time I was learning someone from Dolby Atmos who was showing how to make game sounds more real. And well, and I can share a story. Is that last week I asked my boss, like, can I go to the art team? I mean, so he just paused for some seconds and replied, okay, you can go. So I mean, things are very flexible. If you're really interested in that aspect, it means that there are a lot of chances and opportunities for you to change your job positions. Yeah, but really matters is that you're really interested in it and you really want to be in that position.
Thank you very much. So I guess it's for us, it's very good to learn that it's actually flexible. So you also mentioned that you could take a lot of classes. So I wonder if there are any mixed classes that you wish you had taken, or some classes that you think are helpful for your current job. Maybe, we have the intro to programming, audio-visual localization, websites localization, and yeah, things like that. What's your opinion on this?
I think we discussed this question like on our graduation day. Like a couple of our graduates just gathered together and think what can be improved for our classes. And I think for job hunting, we really wish we had taken any course related to like product localization, product design. But I think like I think David has such courses like related to designing like globalization and designing.
Yeah.
I think yeah.
Internationalization, like the design class. Yeah, I took it last semester.
Yeah, I think this is quite useful. If we can have more this kind of courses, just talking about product design and maybe related to some game design. If we can do some analysis on the game design related to localization, then I think it would be very helpful in job hunting. Because when anyone asks you anything related to game localization, you don't need to show them how you localize the game. You can talk about your analysis on some really on a larger scope. Yeah, you don't show them a piece of work. You can talk more about the product, the localization, and the design.
So thank you for that answer, Tianle. So I know that a lot of first-year students are interested in various sorts of jobs and internships, and a lot of them wonder what can they start doing now while they're in their first year to move on to the track to get an internship in game localization, or to just sort of prepare for later on in getting a job in games localization? What can they start doing now in school?
Okay. So what I want to say is I faced this question when I was first year at Miss, and what I wish I do, I think just don't be so anxious. I think the most important thing is that you calm yourself down. You're not so anxious about you don't fear of not having any job at all, and just have a positive attitude towards your job hunting and your future career. I think the most important thing is you have a general direction of what you want to do, what you like. For example, you like writing or you like creative work. First, you have this big direction, and then you figure out the next step. You know how you don't need to know how you land a job that you like. You just need to figure out what you need to do next. For example, for first year, you need to find an internship, and I think you don't have to set so many limits for yourself. You can try all the opportunities you get. You just how to say, send your resumes to as many employers as you can, and you can just talk with them, even though you don't actually work for them, but you can still get a lot of information and learn more insights through just talking with them, and just enjoy that process in job hunting. You can normally the interviewers, if you're interviewing with a game company, especially those very small game companies, you have the opportunity to talk directly to the producer. You can ask them what you're looking for, like why did you choose the game industry, like how do you see the future of game industry. You can learn a lot through just talking with them. And some of the insights from one interviewer can really be helpful for your next interview, maybe with interview with another company. So you can, yeah, I think for my personal experience, after you talked with 4 or 5 interviewers, then you don't need to prepare for your job interview. You can go really smoothly, like you know what you're going to share with them, you know what you're looking for, and yeah, just practice makes perfect. After you have so many interviews, you don't need to prepare it anymore. Yeah, you just like talking with some. It's not like you're being interviewed, it's like you're interviewing them. You're seeing what this game company is doing, and if that really interests you, and you figure out what your true interests are. I think this is really a good chance. Yeah, so for first year, just open your mind, and to try more. You don't have to say I need to work for a game company. You can try all the internet companies. You can try car companies in different industries. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for the answer. And I have a final question. How do you see the future of localization? What's your opinions on the industry prospects? It's like, is the industry growing or shrinking? And what does it mean for us new job seekers? Maybe Yichen, do you want to share your thoughts on this?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. So definitely the localization industry or the game localization industry is growing. So, and it is growing so fast. Well, as you can see, when you are seeking jobs, you can see that more and more game companies are opening job head accounts related to localization, whether LPM, translators, game localization engineers, or many other different positions. They are really doing something to hiring more people. And that's the first opportunity for you. And the second one is that within the company, you will find that the importance of localization is being known by more and more people, which means that your work, your ideas, your thoughts would be more easily accepted by others. You do not even to really push a lot or to evangelize them a lot, because people really know that you are doing something that is quite different, quite vital. So you will gain more respect than before. So I think that's maybe 2 biggest opportunities for the new job seekers. Yeah, your life will definitely be easier.
All right, then. Thank you so much for your time. Your answers were really insightful, and we really appreciate you taking the time out of your incredibly busy schedules to do this with us. So thank you again for joining us for this LocReady interview, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thank
Hey.
you.
Thank you.